I really wanted to make a long form video about Metal Gear Solid 5 for its birthday. It's 10 years old today, and I think I severely realized that I'm punching above my weight class, and even that is an understatement. I think I'm just going to catalog some of my thoughts here and post them to I don't know, I'll figure out a backdrop or something, but, you know, it's just, this game means a lot to me. I've loved it since I was a little kid. I was, what, 10? Because I was born in 2005. Yeah. Um, little quick math for you there. But no, I love this game. I think it is among some of the most impressive releases for the Xbox 360, the PlayStation 3. It's a marvel that those were even able to play it. I think it's just a wonderful, wonderful creation. I think that it's some of the scariest non-horror video gaming that I've ever had to play through. I think the opening hospital segment is harrowing. I think it's wonderful that you feel so powerless in like those first moments, that hour and a half that you are traversing this hospital and you are waking up with a haze in your eye and you're just like wondering what are all these like white little blobs going back and forth until eventually one gets close enough and you're like, oh, it's a nurse, and you're like, oh, I'm hurt like badly. And I really appreciate that, like, a lot of time is given to you're not feeling like the biggest badass in the room at that point. Like, you're you're basically your bunkmate Ishmael is the biggest badass in the room, because we come to find out that that is Big Boss, which is funny. But I mean, when you talk about Phantom Pain, I think more often than not, people forget to talk about Ground Zeroes, and Ground Zeroes really does lay it all out for you. Because I think even with whatever you want to talk about with like the mishandling of how much that game was priced at, I think $40, yes, is ridiculous for an hour of gameplay. But I mean, I don't know. I It's not something I even think about anymore. It's more often than not packaged with Phantom Pain now if you buy a special edition of the game, and it's well worth it in my opinion for like $2, you know. Excuse me. I think Ground Zeroes has such a wonderful atmosphere. I think, God, that game just looks so good, and you can play it like not nonstop. I wouldn't play it nonstop, but you can play it and really feel the love that went into it, because like everything just looks so premium. Like the rain looks so wonderful in that one mission, and like everything feels so depressing. And it really is like the black sheep of Metal Gear Solid games, because you really get the sense that everything is a little more, I don't know, doom and gloom in that one. If you go out of your way to collect all of the tapes and really get into the nitty gritty of what happened to Chico and Paz, it really is just like, it's so depressing. I wouldn't call it like torture porn or anything, because like that would be gross, but I mean, they put those characters through so much, and I find it really weird that the decision was made to not really feature a lot of Amanda from Peace Walker in that title. And if you've played Peace Walker before, you know that a lot of her story was accepting her brother as not only her little brother, but as a soldier as well in their Sandinistan army. And it just, I don't know. I understand that, like, if you're coming at it from that perspective, then she's got things to do as Commandante, but like, I don't even know if we get like audio logs from her. I don't think so. But if we do, I mean, you can be sure to comment. It's okay. I'm okay on getting things wrong. It's Metal Gear. It's just like a whole big thing. But it just really kind of confused me a little bit as to why she was absent, because it feels like it would be so important to her that her little brother was safe. Um, but yeah, I mean, a lot of the reason that this game isn't really looked at in the same way as other games is that like I feel like it just has a way darker like subject matter, and like not to get like demonetized or anything, not that I was monetized in the first place. um but this game deals with super dark topics like sexual abuse and like black sites and just like generalized torture as a means of getting shit out of people. And like I know that Metal Gear Solid is like no stranger to like being okay with torture. Like look at 3, look at 1, look at 2. It doesn't matter. They're all in those games, but this is on another level of like putting bolts through people's like ankles and like using sexual abuse, using inhumane tactics to break people. And like they even like put it on tape, not in like any fashion that I would say is outright gratuitous, but it's clear to say that like yes, this is what is being done and this is what is being conveyed in this game. And I think I don't know, it's just a very different tone than what we're used to as an audience for this series. And I think that when you take into account what the XOF commander is like saying to Chico and Paz about like what she tastes like, I know it's gross, whether she's sour or sweet. It's like literally disgusting. It's diabolical shit. And like I don't know, people I've seen people say that it was more a shock value kind of pull to have that be a thing, but I don't know. It doesn't scream or doesn't seem that way to me. I mean, like this game series, like Metal Gear as a whole, has always been like very anti-war in sentiment, and I don't think that Kojima or Koji Pro or anyone is trying to be doing this in a disserviceable way or anything like that. I don't think they're trying to push stereotypes or push shock value. I don't know. If like if you look at prior games, when you look at like traumatic like subject um, talking points, I guess you could say that the closest we've ever come to like actual shock value would be like the Beauty and Beast unit of 4. I think that there's a lot to be said about how they were either like very mishandled or I don't know. It just feels like they kind of missed the mark. Like I get nothing from them as characters other than a sob story from Drebin, but like when it's people that we know and people like Paz and Chico who are so chipper in like everyday life at Mother Base and so chipper in those audio logs from Peace Walker, or literally like it's just their entire character. It just feels so harrowing and sad to see them brought down from that and like debased in that way, not in like a character assassination kind of way, but in like a wow, I can't believe that they had to go through that kind of shit. And you can really see how badly it affects them. And it's just so it's like treacherous. It's harrowing, and it makes you really want to like kind of vomit, like to hear what they did to them and stuff like that. It's gross. And it's even sadder when you're playing through the game and you bring both of them to the rendezvous point for your chopper, and you're waiting and you can see as you've set them down on the rocks and they're just like looking at each other and trying to comfort one another, and it just isn't working, and it's just so sad. And I I don't know. I don't want to say that I love that because it's like ugh, but it really is touching, and it makes you want to get the guy who did this. It really just it fucks up a lot for you. And then well the helicopter blows up and so does Paz, and I mean Chico is dead, but I don't think they meant for him to be dead. At least I mean if you look at like background art and just character models and stuff like that, like they had plans for Chico to come back as this monstrous figure, but I don't know. I think that would have been kind of meh for his character. I remember the early days of MGS V when people thought that Quiet was Chico after a sex change, and I feel like I don't know if it feels like if you're introducing like sexual assault, sexual abuse into a character's like background like that, and then the next major thing that they would be is trans in your mind. I don't know. It just feels like wonky. I don't know. I'm glad it never came true. Um, but back to Phantom Pain. You wake up from that coma and you're doing all these things. You're learning about how badly you've been hurt, how you don't have an arm anymore, and it's just like, oh shit, it really hits you hard. And I don't know, you're going through these stages of acceptance into what your life is going to be from now on, but then even that is ripped away from you because people find out that you're awake and they have to perform surgery on you. You can't look like yourself, but they hold up a mirror to you and you're like, wait, what? What do you mean I don't look like myself? I look like Snake. And you're like, huh? And it's a little confusing, but I don't know. You work your way through like the explanations of like what's going to happen, what needs to happen, where you should go, stuff like that. But it's cut really short by your doctor being like choked the hell out by a piece of garrote wire. And or is that garrote? You can sound off in the comments. I don't know. Doesn't really matter. But you're in danger. This lady's after you, and pretty soon someone's after her because your bunkmate Ishmael jumps on her back and sends her ass through a window. It's insane. But you're traversing these corridors, limping behind Ishmael as he convinces you to follow him and leave the hospital with him. And it just feels so freaky. You're like completely powerless. It's not Ground Zeroes where you're this big bad predator like on this tiny little island. It's like no, you're on a gigantic island now basically and everyone's looking for you. This floating boy with powers that you don't even begin to comprehend. This man set ablaze, chasing you down hallways, stopped only by the sprinkler system. It's really silly. But I mean, it works. I'm not going to say that it's not effective. It's freaky. I really enjoy the atmosphere that is presented to us in the Cypress Hospital. You get to this one section where you're following behind Ishmael, and there are these rows of cots on either side of the room, and you have to crawl beneath the beds to sneak by these guards, these XOF guards that are going into each and every um, individual room and like shooting each patient just to get rid of people, right? And it's so scary because you can peer upwards and like look at their visor on their respirators, and it's just this like bright green hue illuminating their dead eyes, and it's just like, oh, that it grosses me out so much. But eventually you make it past and you get to the entrance of the hospital with Ishmael, and he's nowhere to be seen because he's trying to start a diversion for you to get out. But you have to sneak past these other guards, and it's the first real like introduction to like combat. I mean, there were like two guards before that you had to kill, and Ishmael does this whole I'll get the one on the right, you get the one on the left, but he doesn't get the one on the right, so you have to do it yourself, and it's like, are you trying to get me killed? It's weird. Um, but yeah, like you take your time and you can pick them off, or you can sneak through, and it's a really good introduction to player choice and stuff like that. And I really enjoy that. But if you do get detected, you're put into this reflex mode, they call it, and I really detest it. I think it's the worst addition to the game. Um, it really just sucks the life out of any kind of actual tension because with one person like detects you and you're put into reflex mode, you can get him, you can get the guy behind him, you can get the guy to the side of him, you could probably turn around and get two more guys. It gives you so much time. It gives you beyond ample time to react to anything. And I wish they would have just put emphasis on players getting better at the game instead of actually just like having such a big crutch like that. And it's also why in like later parts of the game when you have your bionic arm, I kind of steer clear away from their like sonar upgrade, because it really just like trivializes a lot of the game for me. And let you like, yeah, I could rack my brain and be like, oh my gosh, this sucks so bad. I hate searching for all of these blueprints or like prisoners and stuff like that. I don't even think the sonar thing picks up blueprints, but you get my drift. It's another crutch to lean on. And I don't know, it really trivializes a lot of stuff for me. That's why I don't bring D-Dog on missions with me a lot of the time. It's an annoyance. It's an afterthought. But back to the hospital, we get out, we escape in an ambulance. We're being chased by the man on fire. It's tense. It's freaky. A whale eats a helicopter out of nowhere. This flaming orca, basically, not an orca. I think it was a sperm whale or something like that. But I mean, I kind of hate replaying this game. Like, as much as I love this game, and I want this to be a love letter of sorts to it, it really is just really difficult to sit down, hunker down, and like sit through the entire hospital sequence again, because the first time that you do it, it is so good. It is beyond good. It's great. It's dripping with atmosphere. It's dripping with tension and horror and suspense, and you don't know what's going to come next. You don't know what's happening. You don't know who you are, where you are. It's great. But on that second, third, 50th playthrough, oh my god, it cannot end soon enough. And if you're doing like another 100% playthrough and you fuck up and you get hit by the man on fire or something, it's just like, oh, it's a hat on a hat. But you escape with Ishmael. He's nowhere to be found after you wreck your ambulance, and Ocelot saves you on horseback. It's kind of crazy. You have a shooting segment with the man on fire where you have to hit him with Ocelot's weird little lever action shotgun. It's pretty cool though. You guys fall off the rocks of this bridge. You kind of like conk out for a minute. Ocelot picks you back up, dusts off your feet, and you're ready to go save Kazuhiro Miller. It takes a couple of weeks, I think, to travel there by boat. You get this cool little Indiana Jones style map that like pulls away, and you can see your little dot going da 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 da, and you go all the way from Cyprus all the way to Afghanistan, and you're dropped in Afghanistan on horseback with Ocelot, same as last time, but now you've got your own. His name's D Horse. You become good friends with him enough, and he can poop. It's pretty fun. Um, but no, he says that Miller's being held at Dawandehar, I believe, or maybe it's Gwandi. I think Gwandi might be the town that you see at first, and I don't know. Maybe I can't even remember. There are so many different like places in this game, but you go find Miller, right? And on the way back, he has this little like say the words, the magic words. Come on, boss! I've been waiting 9 years to hear them. And if you hold down whatever your equivalent of like the triangle button is, Snake will say "kept you waiting," huh? Which is cute. I like that. But you finally get back to the chopper, and like a mist has flooded the area, and it's just completely like zero visibility. Nothing makes sense really, and like Miller seems to be like, oh man, this is the old unit who attacked us. This is fucked. And you're like, oh shit, really? And you see these like puppet like men shambling towards you, and it's like freaky. It's like actually kind of scary because they don't walk like normal people. They're like hunched over and like walking around like puppets, kind of like how like Meryl in MGS 4 has been like puppeted around and stuff like that in that last part of that game. But you approach, whether on horseback or on foot, and you get this like creepy little cutscene where their eyes light up bright, and they're like, "Ah, I get you. I'm gonna get you," and they try and shoot you down. Um, and like if you kind of dawdle around, they will kill you. But replaying it later, it just gets like really easy, and you stop being afraid of the skulls really quick, which is a shame. They are pretty kind of scary at first. I mean, I just wish more time was put into them being more of a threat. um, like you do a bunch of missions to get back your like notoriety and like build up some money. The third mission of the game, C2W, is actually pretty cute because if you play through the open world segment first and go to the Eastern Communication Space, where you would normally play in that mission, you can actually break up their communications like outposts, their little like satellite dishes and stuff like that, and it makes it so that when you actually initiate that mission from the Aerial Command Center (ACC), um, when you fly in to go do it, it actually is just like, boss, you already did this, and then you get an S rank immediately, and they're like, man, you're crazy. That's awesome, and it feels good. It's fun to be proactive like that if you know how to. Um, Another thing that makes like ruining the electrical components of like enemy bases really fun is whenever they release the water gun for you to develop on Mother Base. That's always fun. Um, it makes things really easy. I mean, you could also just develop the Molotov cocktail or the I guess it's called a petrol bomb in this game. But I mean, I fail to see how that would like immediately break a anti-air radar. I don't really know, but if you throw one against any of their electronics, it's immediately like kaplooey. It doesn't really matter, but it's fun. It oftentimes feels like there's a lot of busy work to this game, in that like I don't really feel like I'm doing much, and I really find myself wondering why this game was made open world. I think a lot of the problem stems from it being a direct sequel to Peace Walker, more or less. And the way I talk about these games is I talk about Ground Zeroes and Phantom Pain as a package deal, because they really are to me. I don't think people talk about them in that way enough. I think it's really easy for people to just like forget Ground Zeroes and stay mad at Phantom Pain. But I really just think that like the implementing of systems like the base building mechanics or the staff like role assignment systems, it's just like it's not suitable for this kind of game. And I really wish this game was more linear in nature, but I guess that runs counterintuitive to the way that this game was structured and like how you're supposed to play it. Like, I know it's an open world game first, and like I don't know, maybe a stealth game second. Maybe I'm wrong for saying that, but it feels like you have so many opportunities for lethal weapons and stuff like that, and I find myself kind of lacking in like my non-lethal options. I mean, CQC is there, and there are a lot of beanbag or like rubber bullet guns, but whenever it comes time for like actually knocking someone out, you've kind of got like the Woo tranquilizer pistol and stuff like that, but it just kind of feels lacking, um I don't know, maybe I'm complaining a little too much, but you work your way through a lot of what I consider to be busy work in this game, and it's kind of disappointing, but I think you get to a point where, I mean, it's like mission 11 before anything really happens, right? Like, you're doing not really notable things. Well, that's actually not true. You actually do have a pretty interesting mission that you go on called Where Do the Bees Sleep? And I think it's a wonderful look into the future parts of this game that they respect you enough to not like lay out for you immediately. um you have to find this like recoilless launcher, right? It's called the Honeybee, and it's at, I think, Desmasi Laman. I could be wrong again. I've offhandedly remembered a lot of these like names of things for a long time, but I don't know if they accurately lay on the map where I'm actually remembering them. Point is, there is a Mujahideen warrior who has been captured by the 40th Red Army or whatever, the Russians, the Ruskies, you know what I'm saying. And if you go to him and you save him from the Russians, he cannot speak. He's mute. And I think this is really cool. And I think that he's infected with the vocal cord parasite, right? Because he can't communicate with you in any way except for hand signals. And the way that he explains to you where the honeybee is, he literally makes this cool little motion like he's holding a recoilless launcher, like this missile launcher, and he like he, he literally does that without the sound effect. And Snake's like, "Oh, I get it." And then you go to the Smasi Laman, and you get it out of a crevice in a wall somewhere, and then the skulls appear for the second time, and like Ocelot and Miller have this little bickering match over like, "Oh, so you should use the honeybee. We should see what it can do." And Miller's like, "No, you shouldn't use the honeybee. We need it because you get a bonus if you don't use any of the ammo." And it's like that's a lot of what this game like breaks down into. Disappointingly, in my opinion, it's like really just an argument between Miller and Ocelot, and it always feels kind of pointless besides maybe the quiet stuff. But even then, it's like you're supposed to be top dog in his eyes. Why the hell is Miller like being like, "Boss, you know I respect every decision you make, but if you bring her here, I'm just gonna have her killed." He doesn't back that up. um I guess it's because Venom is just like, "Don't worry, when the time comes, I'll pull the trigger." But it's like, I don't know, like it's always just an argument between either two of them or the three of them, more often than not, just the two of them, and it just feels like you're watching like, I don't know, some like tsundere yaoi shit, which is like fine. I mean, whatever floats your boat, Meryl. Um, that was a joke. I have a buddy named Merle. No, I'm just thinking out loud because I really did want to make this a long form video, but I don't think I have the chops to do it. But yeah, Mission 11, Cloaked in Silence. It's pretty big because you get quiet or you don't, and that brings me into another conversation that I want to have with you all, and that's like the the hard Metal Gear Solid 3 pulls that this game tries to pull off, but really doesn't. Like when you're if you dispatch quiet or like right before you're about to choose not to, you approach her in the same way that John does the boss in MGS 3, and I think that's completely unearned. We have no connection to this woman whatsoever. And maybe that's the point between the hypnotherapy to make you believe that you are actually Naked Snake or whatnot. And maybe in its own way, like that really does kind of pay off, but I'm honestly not sold on it. It kind of just feels weak. I mean, the game just before this, Peace Walker, had you do the same thing with the boss's horse, and it's just like, all right, like I get it. Like, how many times are we gonna parrot this? But I know that this series is very entrenched in the idea of the past echoing the future. So maybe I'm complaining too much, but I don't know. It's not something I really enjoyed, and I thought it was kind of cheap. If they're gonna do like any MGS3 poll, I wish they would have put more stock into Volgin, like at all. Like, if you don't know by now, Volgin is the man on fire. Like, you're probably not going to be able to really analyze that in the hospital segment because he's chasing you down and it's like, oh my god, ah. But he's wearing that, like, Russian CCCP or whatever. I don't know what the insignia says on the arm. That's always what I read whenever I'm playing MGS3. I thought it said like CCCP arm or whatever on his arm, but I don't really know. It's just like they're the weird sneaking suits that he, the boss, and John have. You know, I don't even know if it's a sneaking suit for him, but it's a specialized Russian suit, and you can see it in the hospital section. But like I said, you probably won't notice it because you're all freaked out and running away. But it's definitely apparent once you get the mission to actually retrieve his like worn out body. It's just like, oh yeah, that's him. You can see all of like the intricate line work done on it, the gold stripes on the arm pads and stuff like that. It's just I wish there was something more to his character, and I know that like his rage kept him alive, his rage and hatred for Naked Snake. But I don't know. I think I think it was a funny cutscene to have at the end of that mission at the tail end where like he wakes up one final time and he pins you down and he's like, "Oh, you're not John. Your face is all fucked up. You're not John." It's just it's really goofy. Um, I hmm, trying to think of what else to say. I mean, Huey's a bastard. Huey's always been a bastard. I mean, they explain that in MGS 2, and he's no less a piece of shit in this game. I mean, you get like a 10-minute audio log of Strangelove being locked in this AI pod and just like suffocating and praying to the boss and saying that even if she didn't really want to have a child with Yui, if she imparted her life and her experience onto that child, then it would kind of be like their child. Like, that's so sad. That's like among some of the saddest writing that the series has, in my opinion. And I really, really enjoy that. About partway through the game, you start getting these missions to recruit these um, lost mother base soldiers, MSF soldiers that were lost 9 years ago, and it's pretty cool actually. Once you bring the first one home, you actually get this little photograph, and if you peruse around the medical area of mother base, you can actually find this room that you can go into, and Paz is there, like Paz from 9 years ago, fallen in the water. Paz, like what? And Ocelot and Miller come in, and they're like, "Yeah, we found her. Somehow she survived the fall and the explosion." And it's like, what? And you know it's not real, but you go anyway, and you keep going and keep getting more MSF members from outside. And eventually, once you've shown her all these photographs from 9 years ago, and she's had her little mementos restored, she also fades away and leaves that room empty. It's not even a finished room like you thought it was. It's just like an empty hole, a husk of what it was, and on the wall there is a peace sign and a morpho butterfly. And I think that's pretty crazy. It's one of my favorite moments in the game, to be honest. I mean, like, the moment after you're gifted a cassette tape just in your inventory, and it's more or less a farewell from Paz, one that I don't think she ever really recorded for anyone. I think it's another hallucination from Venom Snake. But the reason that I find it so deeply impactful is that Venom Snake was the medic on, um, gosh, what was it? Morpho, the helicopter that Big Boss used in Ground Zeroes. And I think it's very notable that out of everything that he could have been hallucinating, he was hallucinating Paz at a time in her life where she was nothing but a beacon of hope and a symbol for peace among the men at Mother Base. And I think it's just so sad, it's so depressing and heartbreaking that out of everything he could be thinking about, the last thing that he experienced as his own person was someone that he couldn't save, and reliving that trauma just to wake up and have a message from her that more or less says that it's okay, that she didn't survive, and that killing Skullface or killing Zero or killing anyone won't bring her back. And I think that's so sad. And I think that's one of the moments that I really appreciate about this game, because you don't get a lot of, like, I don't want to be pretentious and call it pathos, but you don't get a lot of heart from this game. You get a lot of potential from it, I would say. I mean, I don't know. Running through this game, it really does feel incomplete. And people have echoed that sentiment for years now. It's been a decade since release. And, like, yeah, Konami fucked over Kojima. There's no doubt about it. But oftentimes really less interested about the corporate side of things and more about like what they were trying to do with it. I don't know. From what I've seen of like Mission 51 and stuff like that, it never really felt like something that I wanted from the series. It kind of felt confusing and haphazardly thrown together. And that's how a lot of Metal Gear Solid 5 feels for me. You get to the point where you're going to OKB0 and like trying to stop Skullface, trying to stop Sahelanthropus, Huey's new creation, new bipedal weapon, and it's really just anticlimactic. It's not as grand as you might want it to be. I don't know. The open world aspect of this game really kind of takes the punch out of any like grand destruction ideas that this game might have, because you're relegated to three maps, either Mother Base, Afghanistan, or Africa, and watching Sahelanthropus stomp on a power line to crush it into Skullface's body, while like yeah, I guess it is kind of satisfying. It's also just not like, it's not like, oh no, this world's being destroyed, this world's being affected. It just excuse me, that was gross. I just think it's really underwhelming. And you get to Africa, and I I misspoke. The Africa stuff does happen, but Skullface is still alive at that point. But it does lead into Africa a lot more once you've killed Skullface, is what I should have said. But like going to places like the Devil's House, and where they're like testing the vocal cord parasites, it's really just harrowing. It's some of the scariest that the game ever like dares to get, with like body horror and stuff like that, with like the lungs being at the very top of everyone's chest, and they have like these headphones stuck into their throat, touching the vocal cords and like stimulating them, attuning them to each individual language, which admittedly I think is bullshit, but I mean, the game's gonna game, so I don't really care. But it's still scary as shit, and like Venom pulls out the headphones from one of the people's necks, and it's like, ugh, really? I don't know. Speaking of the African segments in this game, like there's a big push for like child soldiers in this part, and of course you have to treat them non-lethally or else you get like an instant fail, which is like, sure, I understand why. I'm not like mad at that or anything, but when you bring them back to base, that's where they stay. And I think that's so confusing, because you can save wildlife in this game and they get sent to an NGO, but if you save children in this game, they stay at Mother Base. And it's like, what are we doing with those kids? There's infinitely more options to do better things than like have them sit around and be on like a war criminal's base. It just doesn't make sense to me. And I think it's like kind of an afterthought. I mean, it does lead into Eli, um, Liquid Snake being like kind of the bastard of all bastards, and like kind of just fucking around and killing some of them for fun, I think is what is in the subtext, because like I think he chucks Shabani's necklace down into this like highly chlorinated like area, and like he's wanting them to like jump in and fucking die. There's another kid named Ralph who has a pipe fall on him, and like whether or not Eli did that, I don't know, but it's like kind of like, I don't know. It's kind of suspicious considering what he did do to Shabani. But I don't know. It's gross stuff like that. And yeah, I just mentioned Eli. We haven't even gotten to him, but you get deep enough into the Africa part, and you have to find this kid named the White Mamba. And lo and behold, it is Eli. It's the son of Naked Snake, I guess you could say. I mean, he's a clone, but whatever. And they kind of give you a lot of red herrings in this game about like what's happening, and like what is this actually Liquid Snake? Are you actually Naked Snake? Because they do like a DNA test, and they're like, he's not your son. And it's like, in retrospect, you're like, well, yeah, of course he's not your son, because it's Naked Snake's son. It couldn't be Venom Snake's son, because they didn't clone Venom Snake, they cloned Naked Snake. But people playing it for the first time are just like, huh, I guess this kid isn't Liquid Snake. He's just some little shit, but it's really goofy. Um, I don't know. I It kind of just like sputters out after that. I mean, the best things in this game come from like Quiet, really, because like for two people, Venom, Snake, and Quiet, who don't talk a lot, they bond so much in a way that you can't really see on screen, I don't think. I mean, there's this part in the game where if you come back home to Mother Base, you watch as the rain falls and she takes notice of it, and she jumps out of the helicopter and just like twirls around for a good 3 minutes, and slowly but surely John, well, not John, Venom joins in, and I think that's really sweet. They prance around together and splash each other. It's cute. Um, and if she's on base when you have your birthday celebration, she also shoots out a crate of cigars for Venom. It's pretty nice. Um, but yeah, you do eventually have to lose her because of the final mission, um, a quiet exit. It's really sad because, well, firstly, it's one of the hardest missions in the game. If you're playing on, I mean, well, there isn't really a difficulty slider in this game. Um, if you're playing on normal, which is the first way that you play this mission, it's just honestly such a bitch. It's the worst mission in the game, in my opinion. It's just an onslaught of tanks, and but like the video, or the cutscene, I should say, that preludes this mission is so like disgusting. Like these Russian men are trying to like drown her while simultaneously trying to rape her, and it's just like, ooh, really? Ugh. And I don't know, the way that sexuality has been portrayed and quote unquote fan service has been like talked about within like this game, and like Hideo Kojima mentioning it like at all. He talked at length about how we would like weep at our sins or some shit like that. I know I'm paraphrasing, but he said we would be ashamed, more or less, based on what our questions of Quiet were. And I guess I don't know who was, but like the explanation that we're given is that she breathes through her skin, right? And so I guess we're supposed to feel bad for ogling her, and I guess in a way, yeah, but we also know that he made her to be ogled at, which is a weird dynamic. I mean, I don't know. It feels weird. Um, but yeah, you work through that onslaught of tanks, and eventually you're trying to escape, and you get bit by a snake, ironically enough. And the visibility is so low because of the dust storms, the sandstorms, that Wyatt has to manually explain where we are, trying in Russian, trying in, I think, Navajo. I could be mistaken. I think she speaks that with Code Talker. Um, but yeah, it ultimately is kind of fruitless, and she has to switch to English for Pequod to understand where we are. And they make a little jab. They're like, "Whoa, quiet! I didn't know you could talk so much. That's pretty cool." But she was carrying a vocal cord strain of her own, so she ultimately seals her fate by saving us. She kills herself, and it's really sad. And you walk across the sands and like try and catch up to her, and all you can find that's been left behind on the twig of a tree is a cassette tape for you to play. And she explains what she had been doing this entire time before she goes off to die alone. And I just think that that's so sad. Like, it's insane. Maybe I shouldn't have said insane. I don't know. It makes sense. It's just a bummer. And that's what this game is a lot of the time for me. I mean, I love this game. And I don't know. I've talked to my friends a lot about like how I have problems with this game. And they're like, "Oh man, what a love letter," and I'm like, "Well, I don't know. I just wanted to do something nice for the 10-year anniversary. Maybe I'm the doofus, but I really appreciate this game. I'm sorry this video isn't some 3 hour long, mind blowing explanation of why everything is good or bad in the Metal Gear Solid universe. I don't know. I think Metal Gear Solid 5 is a lot more special than people would like to make it out to be. I think the modding community is really crazy. If you've ever seen stuff like that, like they've got crazy like immersive boxes that change you into like electronic transformer for like I don't know, generators and stuff, or like make you look like a boulder, or if you want to do some more gooner shit, there's that too. You can dress up as Jack Black, who's like fully modeled and textured just with an eye patch to fit the scheme, and I don't know, you can be WhatsApp man, you can be WhatsApp sneaking suit Snake. It's just goofy stuff like that. I really appreciate what the community has cultivated. Um, Thank you for your time. I know it's been 45 minutes of just me going on a spiel about stuff that I kind of like but kind of don't like. I think this game is crazy. I think it's so intricate for a game that really didn't have to be. I think stuff like blowing up power lines and like watching them electrocute some poor Russian dude, or like going up to one of that same Russian dude's buddies and disarming them only to hold them up with their own AK. Stuff like that is just so wonderful. The emergent gameplay that's possible in this entry in the series is just so great. I I've really sunk so much time into it. I appreciate you all being here. Thank you.